Welcome to the ANEW Body Insight Podcast, empowering and inspiring your journey to optimal health. Hosted by Dr. Supatra Tovar, clinical psychologist, registered dietitian, fitness expert, and author of Deprogrammed Diet Culture. Rethink your relationship with food, heal your mind, and live a diet-free life. And Chantal Donnelly, physical therapist and author of Settled, How to Find Calm in a Stress-Inducing World. Here at City Club Los Angeles, we follow our guests' journey to optimal health, providing you with the keys to unlock your own wellness path. Tune in and evolve with us. Hello and welcome to the ANEW Body Insight Podcast at City Club Los Angeles. I am Dr. Supatra Tovar.
And I am Chantal Donnelly.
We are very excited to have Reiki Master Yan Weng here with us today.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm going to read a little bit about Yan, and then we'll get into our questions. Yan Weng, a certified Reiki Master and yoga instructor with 20 years of experience in qigong and meditation, is dedicated to empowering professionals through transformative Reiki self-care practices. With a background in the high-stress finance sector, Yan understands the demands professionals face and offers holistic tools for rapid stress relief and inner empowerment. Through her Reiki courses, workshops, and the online 5-minute Stress Buster Kit, Yan helps individuals access their inner power and achieve success amidst life's challenges. Yan holds master certifications in the USUI system of natural healing and Holy Fire 3 Karuna Reiki. Featured in publications like Shoutout LA and Voyage LA, she volunteers at Grace Reiki Clinic, providing Reiki sessions to staff at local hospitals in Los Angeles. Yan also serves on nonprofit boards focused on health, wellness, community, and economic development.
Oh, thank you so much for being here. We're so excited. So what we really love on this podcast, Yan, is to find out people's story, mostly their story about how they got into the wellness world. Was there, we like to go way back, right? So childhood.
Sure. Yes.
Was there anything in your childhood that ignited your desire to go on this wellness journey that you've been on?
Yes. Thank you so much for the kind introduction. Yes, by looking back, I had many experiences, but also facing quite a lot of challenges in life and struggles. But I just very blessed to have those experiences. When I came here at the 12 years old from China to the US, shortly 2 years after I lived here, when I went to the doctor's appointment, she told me that there was a lump growing rapidly on my left chest. And I was 14 at the time. And going to doctor's appointments and biopsies became part of my life. And sometimes waiting in the doctor's office and waiting for the results, it was nerve-wracking. Eventually, after the biopsies and all that, the doctor mentioned to recommend actually a surgery because the lump is going too fast. In order to prevent it from turning into cancer, to breast cancer, they decided to remove the tumor. So at that time, I was very scared and I didn't want to have cancer. So my mom and I, with among the family, decided to have the surgery. And I remember right after the surgery, even the simplest task of putting my clothes on felt like a challenge. I was just feeling the pain and all of that. And at that moment, I realized that without a healthy body and mind, nothing can be done successfully on a sustaining level. Especially I was hiding my emotions, like my anxiety, my fear. I just felt like I have to be tough. So I was hiding a lot of those emotions. But looking back, I knew those emotions were also not very good for me in the long term. And I'm very blessed that during my adult life, that I was able to learn qigong, yoga, and later on with Reiki. And it completely changed my life because before when I was younger, I was feeling useless and hopeless during those times. And then because of these holistic practices, I don't feel that way anymore. And actually, it gave me that juice, to really sustain me. And so I can really ride the waves. And even though lots of things might be happening, because life is like 3 struggles, right? Ourselves, others, and the environment or the circumstances. So, but I'm just very blessed to have that. And I want to share that with the people who also wanted to have that amazing life and that juice that can, keep us going for the long term with success and with meaning.
Well, you certainly are full of juice. I would call that empowerment as well. You radiate energy. And I think that comes from this practice. And it's amazing, too, that it came from a darker place, but you turn that dark place into something light and something beautiful. You were telling me earlier that you were at ground zero. We want to talk about stress. We'll talk about ground zero. Tell us about that day and what you did to heal yourself and how you did it.
Yes, thank you for that. I was in the 7 World Trade Center, the tower that collapsed during the noontime that day. I went to the office a little bit early than usual after the vote because it's a beautiful Tuesday morning. And so I was getting settled and everything, doing some of my work. But all of a sudden, I heard this loud rumbling noise. And then the coffee on my table was shaking violently. I was like, what's going on, right? So I looked up and then I just saw a whole bunch of debris, all the sharp, glasses and broken metals and flying towards from the building across to our window. And some of my colleagues they went to the window and say what's going on? And then one of the colleagues actually was yelling out, oh my gosh, there were airplanes coming at us. How could the pilot miss such a big building? So that was how could that happen? And then in the meantime, I was I warned my colleagues, just don't get too close to the window because all these debris coming at us and at any time it could break in and shatter to our faces and all that. So we decided, no one was telling us what to do, but we know it won't last too long. So we just decided to kind of chart our way away from the window and then get out of that building. And then shortly after we got out of the building, waiting to be called to go back because we thought it was an accident. And then we heard the second explosion. And I knew by that time it was not an accident. So I was just running away from the buildings to the north, just to away from the falling debris and all of that, and ran for my life. So after the escaping from the scene, we were my coworker, we bumped into each other. So we said, let's go to the hospital to donate blood. And then when we went to the hospital, the nurses turned us away because there was no survivors. And it was a tragic day because over thousands of people, innocent people, had died. And I was hurting very much in my heart. However, the one difference from years ago when I was younger and now is because I already started the qigong practice. And I knew even during the whole chaotic situation, I was able to stay calm and trying to figure out what's the best way, making decisions to stay away from the danger. And also with the uncertainty and the lockdown in Manhattan. So we could not even, there's no phone. The phone was all disrupted and all that. So every day I just keep practicing qigong, which is a combination of breathing, gentle movement, and visualization and meditation technique that I do every day because that helped me to be grounded. And when emotions come, I know that this time I'm not hiding all these emotions of fear and anxiety, but how to really process this in a healthy way so it doesn't get stuck inside me, because we know that whenever undigested emotion stuck, it comes out in our physical body, because our body has 5 parts, right? The physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and also the psychic aspect. Any one of these aspects is impacted, it's going to be coming through to our body. So with the practice, and I just knew, like, I just felt so much calmer and easier to digest all the emotions. And also I see that strength coming out of that is because the New Yorkers and all the friends and people all around the globe is coming together, giving us a hand or prayers and everything that they could do so we can build back whatever's been lost with resilience and with the strength and with the love. So from that point on, and my guiding principle is to living my life with love and not fear, with hope and not despair, and with understanding and not judgment.
Ooh, I have
Yes.
goosebumps.
I was just going to say the same thing.
That is
Yes.
beautiful.
I got shivers when you were telling the whole story.
Yes.
And just, it
Amazing.
sounded like you were that person in the room who remained calm from everything that you had been through and all of your practices. And that's what it takes. It takes one person in the room to help everybody else settle a little bit and remain calm. That's amazing. You've been through a lot. And apparently you've been through even more. I hear that there was an accident that led you to the Reiki practice. Can you tell us a little bit about what happened? What was this event that led you to learning Reiki?
Yes, and that is because right before, like few years, about a year before the COVID, I was just scooting around with my daughter and my husband around the neighborhood, and there was this concrete that has a crack on it, and I was flying so fast, and the scooter hit the concrete, and then I was flying out of the scooter onto the concrete pavement on the sidewalk. So I said, oh my God, I'm going to break my wrist. Well, that was the thinking part. I said, no, I'm not going to break it. So instead of landing my wrist onto the pavement, I landed my chest and my shoulder onto the concrete. So after that, I was like on a frog position for a while.
Something's got to land.
Luckily, I was like, I knew yoga, but even that took a while. So, but after that, I felt, oh my gosh, I got strained because luckily I didn't break my wrist, but my neck and my shoulder was all strained and the pain. So I couldn't even like turn my head without feeling the pain. Like it was just right all around. So I had to like, whomever talked to me, I was like a robot for a while. And then just right after that, during that weekend, I got the phone call from one of my friends, which is like, Chantal knows about her. And she was like, I said like, oh, I have this accident. And she said, I have a Reiki session coming up. If you want to come and check it out. I said, can it reduce my pain? And she said, yes. So I said, okay, I'm coming. Yeah. So, and it was amazing because she didn't even touch me. So it was a group section, and she was just kind of standing behind me. And then I felt that heat kind of coming behind me and all around. And then after that session, I was able to turn my head without much pain. So that's why I was so surprised. I was like, where was I about Reiki, right? So I was so inspired. I tell her like, whenever you have the training, I am in. I want to learn this technique because knowing yoga and qigong, I know how powerful this Reiki tool is through the years that I practiced qigong for 20 years and yoga for 15.
Right.
And then I was just like, wow, that's amazing. So the rest is history. I got certified and trained and certified for level 1, level 2, and then later on advanced into Reiki Master levels.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was just like, this is something that I felt like there is also always a sign. So even an accident is kind of like a disguise into a blessing. I felt like that's how I felt. And then after that, that's when I said, I need to spread this tool to as many people as possible, because as I learned, Reiki is not only reducing pain and stress, it has so much to offer beyond those two. Yes.
Can you help our listeners understand a little bit more about Reiki? I'm not sure that everyone is going to know exactly what that is.
Yes, sure. I'm happy to do that. Reiki is composed of two Japanese words. Rei means the universal intelligence, and ki means the bio, like in science, it's called a biofield. But you might hear about qi, like qigong. So that's
Right.
same as the ki, that life force, and
Mm.
also prana, as we in the yogic Sanskrit terms, that is also connected with life force. So what it means in a gist is that we as human beings can access this Reiki, which is the universal intelligent life force, for our own healing, because it is not just working on one specific part, like, oh, you have this problem, let me fix this problem. No, it is more of a holistic balancing way. It knows how to, like in terms of how to kind of heal you, but the way they need it to, because it's very intelligent. So in a gist is a technique, is a holistic technique that reduces stress, enhances relaxation, while restoring our entire system to balance and promoting well-being in that way.
How does a Reiki master do that without laying hands on someone? What is the process exactly?
Yes, it is quite unique in a way with Reiki, but we know, because I learned qigong for 20 years, and I know it can be possible to do it too, but it needs a lot of years of experience. And also they have to activate their own energy or the prana to heal the other person, which is very different than Reiki, because Reiki, we are not using our own life force to heal the other people.
Oh.
Yep. Basically, what it is that we are just activating the universal life force, which is always there, but we just never taught how to do it. So it's very easy, very simple. Once it's activated, the life force goes to combine with your own, because we all have healing system. We know that, because when we sleep, when we are in a very nice, digest and relax mode, we are healing ourselves. But many times, because we are so busy, we didn't allow ourselves to do the healing. So the life force, the Reiki, is basically to utilize that universal life force, combining with our own life force, so we can be healed through that.
And so you just send the energy that you're captivating.
It just So it's mainly just activate through the life force, through this training obviously involved for that. Level 1 is usually hovering around or with like a light touch. Obviously, everyone is fully clothed, even with the receiver. However, if we are trained and certified level 2, then we have techniques and symbols that we can do remotely. So not even in the same room. It can be outside, or it can be in New York or in Paris, through that activation, through that technique that we have been
I've done qigong
trained.
and I've felt the energy, but you're saying it's a little different. It's not my energy. It's energy from the universe that you're feeling coming through you.
With the Reiki, that is what, so we are not using our own energy to do that. My qigong, so separately, my qigong master is well-known grand qigong master and a doctor, both Eastern and Western doctor. And from what I've been hearing from him, and also people who know him for a long time, is that when he healed people, he had to emit his own energy to the other person, either in this room or remotely.
Yeah.
But because he's a grandmaster, once he finished healing others, he would have to come back and do the qigong practice himself, so he can regain all the life
so
force.
that he didn't feel spent.
Yeah, so that is the qigong way. But with Reiki, it's not like that. We are just calling and activating the life force, universal, and then it's going through. In fact, when one gives Reiki to others, the person that is giving is also benefiting, because all these are part of it, and it's almost like that is working wonderfully with the receiver and the giver at the same time.
That is beautiful.
Yes.
That is beautiful. You work in finance as
Yes.
well, and that
Yes.
is very stressful. So how do you...
That's different than Reiki.
Very different. How do you use meditation, qigong, and Reiki to help you manage your stress?
I do it every day. I think that's the only way we can really ground ourselves. Because even like I'm a professional mom working in the finance sector for like 20 years. It is stressful, but many other sectors too. And especially nowadays with so many negative news that is bombarding, like so much going on, our mind is never stopped worrying, because if it's not the inflation and then it's like the bombing over there or whatever. So every time when we're exposed to all this negative news externally, sometimes it's all stored internally. Mm-hmm. And if we don't do anything about it, then it's not going to be helping us in the long run. That's why I do all these practices daily. So I don't stop on that. However, today I wanted to focus on Reiki because Reiki is easily learned. Like qigong and yoga, you have to take time to learn the skills. That is the difference. But with Reiki, we have some hand positions and placement systems and all that. But the main difference is that it's empowered from the Reiki master to the student through an attunement process. So the attunement is an empowerment process that once it's attuned, the student kind of able to access to the Reiki life force, which is the universal intelligent life force. Yeah, so that is the difference. So, and then that's why I'm so excited to share that, because we are so busy, right? All the professionals so busy. We don't ever have time. And how do we focus on ourselves? Because we know that if we are sick, if we are all stressed out, eventually it's going to throw out all the balance that we have, and we won't be able to care about our other people or doing the work that we love to do if we are not well ourselves. So just give you a very quick example. Last week, I was training a Reiki level 1 student, and she's came into the class very agitated, and she was telling us that because one of her clients just walked away from a high value contract without a good reason, and she was relying on that to make things happen with other areas. So she was very, very agitated. And then I said, okay, let's just kind of observe this. Yeah, talk it out. And then let's do some, after talking out of this and acknowledging this is not an ideal situation because I'm relying on that. I was trusting this person, but somehow it just fell through. I know that I got agitated because of I care about that. I care about the project,
course, yeah.
right? So after all this acknowledgement and all that, so we started like, okay, go with the Reiki hand position. So she put her hands, we have various hand positions for the treatments of our entire being. And she put her hand onto her heart center for a few minutes. And then afterwards, she put her hands onto her abdomen for a few minutes. That was she already got the attunement the weekend before. So all this she's activating. So she's just doing that. And after 20 minutes, she's smiling and cracking up some jokes. I was like, oh, okay, that's good. And then at the end of the 1 hour training, like just for what we've been just doing, because we just wanted to really do the practice and then so they can feel it right away. And she was like, oh my gosh, Yan, my perspective completely shifted after this session. I need to go to dinner, but I am just so happy that I did this session, and I am just like so relieved from all these things that I was worrying about before.
And she could probably think clearly to solve the problem at that point, right? Because when we're agitated, when we're in fight, flight, you can't think clearly. You're offline up there. So that's great.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
So, and she was just very happy about that. And
wow.
and she actually just did this weekend, she did a Reiki session for her friend. And she said, so many discoveries. I said, I need to hear about them more. Yeah, so this is one example, but many other students who took the level 1 training, at the end, before and after, they always share that calm, relaxed, deeply relaxed, very peaceful. And all these are the words that come out from every time that they do the practice, after the practice. Yes.
You were mentioning your students. Can you tell us a little bit more about your Reiki courses and workshops?
Yes, it's very interesting how the Reiki workshops and classes came about. It's just during the COVID, I had various things that like coming around and all that. But one of the situation I faced is that my daughter contracted COVID. She's 7 years old and contracted COVID at the height of it in December 2020. And obviously we won't be isolating and quarantine her. So I decided to teach the Reiki level 1 course to my daughter and to my husband so we can boost our immune system so we don't have to be afraid of the COVID-19. And then because of that, like they got very like vitalized. And I felt like, oh my gosh, this is the time that I should share this with others because it is so important to have that grounding, but also to boost our immune system. And that's when I started to offer the Reiki workshops and classes online besides from the Reiki healing session, because after the level 2, we are able to do it remotely, which is a blessing.
That is wonderful. Well, we'll certainly, ask you about that in the next episode, how to get into these workshops. But right now we're going to take a little break.
Yeah, we will come back and tune in for the next half of this very thought-provoking interview with Reiki Master Yan Weng.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for tuning into the ANEW Body Insight Podcast. Please remember, the content shared on this podcast is for entertainment purposes only and does not constitute medical advice. You can find us anywhere podcasts are streaming, on YouTube at my.anew.insight and at anew-insight.com under the ANEW Body Insight Podcast tab. Follow us on our socials at my.anew.insight on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Threads for more updates. Tune in next time and evolve with us.